So, India's getting a brand new income tax act for 2025. This is a big deal because it's meant to replace the super complex law we've been using since 1961. It's been sold to us as modern, streamlined, and above all, simple. But is it really, or is this just the same old complexity in a shiny new package? Let's dive in and find out.
I mean, the promise is huge, right? A major simplification of India's entire tax code. But with any big new law, the question is always the same. Does the reality actually match the hype? That's what we're going to break down right here.
All right, let's start with the big picture. For over 60 years, India's tax code has been this dense, tangled web. The goal with this new act was to finally cut through all of that and create something that's actually fresh and straightforward for the 21st century. So on one side, you've got the 1961 Act, famous for being complicated and outdated. On the other, the new 2025 Act, which was promoted as a clean slate. Sounds like exactly what taxpayers have been begging for, doesn't it? But let's really put that claim to the test. We're going to start with a perfect case study, the rules for deducting tax at the source, or TDS. If you've ever dealt with taxes in India, you know this has always been a major headache for businesses and individuals. The old system was, frankly, a frustrating maze. Just imagine having to navigate over 35 different sections just for deducting tax. Which one applies to which payment, get it wrong, and you're in trouble. It was, to put it mildly, a mess. And here is the new law's solution. It seems like the government heard all the complaints and responded in a big way. They got rid of all those sections and replaced them with just one. Section 393. All TDS rules, all in one place. Simple, right? People were pretty thrilled.
But, and this is a really big but, we need to look closer. A single section sounds fantastic, but what did they actually put inside of it?
And here's the catch. Section 393 isn't some elegant simplification of the rules, it's just a giant table. And this table lists all the same payment types, pairs, rates, and limits from those old 35-plus sections. Rent, professional fees, lottery winnings, they're all still here, they've just been relabeled with a serial number. So the crucial point is that nothing was actually thrown out. The complexity didn't disappear, it was just moved from a bunch of different boxes into one giant box. You could even argue it's made things trickier. Before, you might remember Section 194J is for professional fees. Now you have to remember Section 393, find the right table, and then hunt for the right serial number. And this isn't a one-off thing. This pattern of consolidation without simplification shows up all through the new act. Let's look at another quick example. Take presumptive taxation for residents. That's a simplified tax scheme for small businesses and professionals. The old law had 3 different sections for it, which people found confusing. The new law? You guessed it, it combines all 3 into a single section, Section 58. And again, when you actually look inside Section 58, you find the exact same text, literally word for word from the old sections, just pasted together. The content wasn't streamlined or reduced in any way. It was just rehoused under a new section number. So this all begs the question, why? Why go through the massive effort of creating a whole new act if you're not actually changing the substance of the rules? Why choose a rebrand over a real revolution? Well, to understand this, let's contrast it with the GST launch a few years back. Now, GST was a true revolution. It fundamentally changed the tax structure, merging separate state and central taxes into one unified system. The new Income Tax Act doesn't do that. The core system is untouched. It's really less of a rebuild and more of a repaint. Now, that's not to say there are no changes at all. The Act does introduce some modernizations. For example, it finally gets rid of the confusing previous year and assessment year terminology and replaces them with a single, much more intuitive concept, the tax year. This kind of shows that the goal was more about updating the language and structure, not a root and branch overhaul of the system itself. So after looking at all this, what's the key takeaway? What should you really remember from all this? The bottom line is this. The new Income Tax Act of 2025 looks simpler, mostly because there are fewer section numbers. But the underlying complexity, all the rules, rates, and limits, that hasn't gone away. It's just been consolidated. For most of us, for taxpayers and businesses, the practical application of the law is pretty much unchanged. It's really a massive renumbering exercise, not a simplification revolution. And that leaves us with a final, crucial question to think about. If just reorganizing the existing complexity isn't the answer, what would it really take to create a tax law in India that is not just new on paper, but genuinely simple in practice?